It was 6:30 in the morning when the pounding on my front door jolted me awake. I wasn't expecting anyone, and no one in their right mind should have been visiting that early. Still half asleep, I threw on a t-shirt and stumbled toward the door, rubbing my eyes. When I opened it, I found 3 people standing on my porch. 2 men and 1 woman, each wearing matching polo shirts with the letters HOA embroidered on them. "Mr. Dawson?" the woman asked sternly, clipboard in hand. "We're here regarding your unpaid fine." I blinked. "Unpaid what?" "Your landscaping violation," she said, flipping a few pages. "You were fined $200 last month. Since you failed to pay, we're authorized to collect equivalent property value today." I laughed, thinking this had to be some kind of joke. "You must have the wrong person," I said. "I don't even belong to the HOA. This neighborhood doesn't have one." But she didn't laugh. She just raised an eyebrow. "Our records show otherwise. Now please step aside." Before I could react, one of the men brushed past me and walked straight into my living room. "Hey, you can't just barge into my house!" I shouted, trying to block the doorway. He ignored me and started looking around like he was appraising the furniture. The other man followed with a notepad, jotting things down while the woman stood firm at the door. "We'll be taking the living room set," she said calmly, as if reading off a grocery list. "It should roughly cover the outstanding balance." "Are you serious?" I snapped. "You can't take my stuff for a fine I don't even owe. Failure to comply will result in law enforcement being contacted," she replied coldly. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911 as the men unplugged my TV. "Yeah, I'd like to report a theft," I said loudly. "There are people in my house trying to take my furniture." The woman gave me a smug smile. "Good idea. They'll confirm our authority." Within minutes, I could hear the distant wail of a police siren. My heart was pounding, my stomach twisting with anger and disbelief. I had lived in this neighborhood for 7 years, never had. I heard of any HOA meetings, fees, or fines. As the police car rolled up, I prayed that sanity would prevail. But deep down, a sick feeling told me this was only the beginning. The officers stepped out of their cruiser, sunglasses reflecting the morning light. One was older, gray at the temples. The other looked fresh out of the academy. I ran up to them desperate. "Thank God you're here. These people broke into my house and are stealing my furniture." The older officer held up a hand. "Sir, calm down. Let's hear both sides." The woman from the HOA stepped forward, flashing her clipboard like a badge. "We're with the Greenfield Estates Homeowners Association. Mr. Dawson has ignored multiple notices regarding an unpaid fine. We're authorized under HOA Regulation 4B to collect assets of equal value." I threw my arms up. "That's ridiculous. I've never signed anything with any HOA. I bought this house directly from the builder 7 years ago. No one mentioned an HOA then or ever." The younger officer frowned. "Do you have any documents proving you're not part of it?" "Do I need to prove I don't belong to something?" I snapped. "This is my home." The older cop sighed and turned to the woman. "Ma'am, can you show us your documentation?" She handed him a folder filled with forms, letters, and what looked like meeting notes. My name was on several pages, misspelled once or twice, but close enough to raise suspicion. The officer flipped through them slowly, then looked at me. "Sir, it looks like your address is listed here," he said. "Until we can verify otherwise, maybe let's avoid escalation." "Are you kidding me?" I said, my voice cracking. "You're letting strangers take my stuff because of some papers they printed at Kinko's?" "Sir," the officer warned, "don't make this harder than it has to be." Meanwhile, the 2 men were already moving my couch toward the door. My dog barked wildly from the hallway, confused and terrified. I felt helpless watching them load my belongings into a white HOA pickup truck. "This isn't over," I yelled. "You're all going to regret this." The woman smiled thinly. "If you believe there's been an error, you can appeal it through the HOA board. Office hours are posted online." Then they drove off, my sofa, TV, and coffee table stacked in the back like trophies. The officers gave me a sympathetic look but didn't move to stop them. When the truck disappeared down the street, I stood in silence, my fists trembling. I wasn't just angry, I was humiliated. My neighbors peeked from behind curtains, probably wondering what crime I'd committed. But one thing was certain. Whatever this HOA was, I was going to expose them. The moment that truck disappeared, I went straight to my office and powered up my computer. If this so-called Greenfield Estates HOA really existed, there had to be records online. I searched everything, county property listings, tax documents, public records, but nothing. No registration, no official website, no HOA president listed anywhere. The only thing I found was a half-broken Facebook page created 2 months ago with a single post. Greenfield Estates is proud to welcome new members to our community. Let's keep our neighborhood beautiful. That was it. No names, no contact number, nothing. My gut told me something was seriously wrong. I printed every scrap of evidence I could find. My property deed, my mortgage contract, even old utility bills to prove I wasn't part of any association. Then I called the county clerk's office. "Hi, this is James Dawson," I said, trying to sound calm. "Can you confirm if there's a registered HOA for Greenfield Estates?" After a few minutes on hold, the clerk came back. "Sir, there's no HOA listed for that subdivision. The last developer filing expired 8 years ago." My heart started racing. So I was right. These people weren't an HOA at all. They were imposters. Fueled by anger, I drove to the local police station, clutching my documents. The same officer from earlier, Officer Raymond, was at the front desk. When he saw me, his expression fell. "Mr. Dawson," he said cautiously, "everything okay?" "No, it's not okay," I said, dropping the papers on his counter. "You let con artists rob me this morning. Look, there's no HOA. None. They're fake." He glanced through the pages, clearly uncomfortable. "I'll be honest, sir, their paperwork looked legitimate. But if this is true, we'll open a report." "Open a report?" I repeated. "They took thousands of dollars worth of my property." He hesitated. "We'll need to verify the documents before filing charges." That was code for "we're not doing anything yet." Frustrated, I stormed out and started knocking on my neighbors' doors. Most had never heard of an HOA, but 2 of them said they'd recently received notices about new community regulations, fines, for uncut grass or improper trash bins. The same people who took my furniture had visited them too. It all clicked. They weren't enforcing rules, they were running a scam. That night I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by papers and coffee cups, formulating a plan. If the police weren't going to stop them, I would. I didn't know how far I'd have to go, but I wasn't letting them get away with it. By sunrise the next morning, I was done being polite. I wasn't just going to get my furniture back, I was going to make sure those scammers paid for what they'd done. My first call was to the local news station. I sent them everything, photos of the so-called HOA team, a copy of the phony fine notice they'd taped to my mailbox, and the county's confirmation that no HOA existed. Within hours, a reporter named Lisa called me back, intrigued. "This sounds unbelievable," she said. "Would you be willing to go on record?" "Absolutely," I replied. "The public needs to know." By noon, a news van was parked outside my house. As Lisa's crew set up cameras, neighbors began to gather around. The story spread faster than wildfire. Fake HOA scamming homeowners. Within an hour of it airing, my phone blew up. People from nearby neighborhoods started messaging me, saying the same group had targeted them too. Then came the real twist. A man claiming to be a former member of the HOA called me anonymously. He sounded nervous, voice trembling. "They're not an HOA," he said. "They're a private debt collection group. They buy fake lien data from old developer records and use it to intimidate homeowners. They call themselves the Neighborhood Compliance Task Force." I recorded the call and sent it straight to Lisa. Within a day, the story exploded online. Thousands of shares, hundreds of comments, people furious that something like this could happen. And that's when the police finally acted. 3 days later, officers raided a rented office building on the outskirts of town. Inside, they found dozens of fake HOA letters, clipboards, and even printed ID badges. My furniture, along with dozens of other people's property, was stacked in a warehouse nearby, ready for resale. When Officer Raymond called me, I could hear the guilt in his voice. "Mr. Dawson, we've recovered your belongings." "You were right all along. I didn't rub it in." I just said quietly, "I know." That evening, I stood in my living room again, my couch, my TV, my table, all back in place. But things didn't feel the same. I'd lost a little trust in people, in systems that were supposed to protect me. Still, when the news segment aired a follow-up titled, "Homeowner Exposes Fake HOA Crime Ring," I felt a strange mix of pride and relief. The scammers had gone too far, and this time they messed with the wrong guy.